in chief of News2Share. He is there at the protest getting underway. Ford, who exactly is there and what have they been telling you?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of different groups kind of from a lot of different states. Some of them are militia-type people and some are just Second Amendment activists who are here. It is true that guns were banned basically from the very specific rally points around the Capitol, but people were able to bring their guns and protest, march, whatever they wanted, kind of outside of that one specific area. The rally already concluded. That happened at noon. There are still people kind of roving around outside talking about this issue and why it matters to them. But so far, there's been no reported violence and no reported arrests.
Ford, there are a lot of comparisons made leading up to this to what happened in Charlottesville, where it was felt authorities were caught a little unprepared. In this case, were the right measures taken, or was it perhaps too much concern because of what happened at that incident?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that there are a lot of critical differences between Charlottesville and here. In particular, Charlottesville was organized by people who are extremists. In the case of this situation, this actual protest has been going on for years annually. The only reason that it became so big and became such a flashpoint is because now the Democrats have taken control of the governorship and the House of Legislators here. So it feels to them like there's a real chance of new gun control actually passing where there wasn't before. And that caused the 2A community to really come out here today. While it is true that some people who are on, I guess, the extremist end of the spectrum were apparently intercepted kind of on their way here, that wasn't actually kind of the leading faction of this event. So the types of people coming, they're totally different. Here, you'd hear much more commonly people saying the Second Amendment is for everyone. Gun rights are for gay people. Gun rights are for people of different races and so forth. So the rhetoric was very different. The other thing that's quite different is that whereas Antifa and the left directly oppose the types of people who went to unite the right, Antifa, broadly speaking, is actually pro-gun. It might be for different reasons, and ideologically they're quite different, but they don't actually have disagreement with the core single issue that this protest was about. And for that reason, Antifa generally recommended to their people not to come here. So there really wasn't anybody to do battle with them, so to speak. There were some arguments, there was some debating. Some people were kind of arguing over presentation, what kinds of signs, the presence of outlets like InfoWars or Alex Jones. Some people were arguing about, but in general, there was not the type of extreme ideological clashing that you would see somewhere like Charlottesville.
But Ford, there was that arrest last week. The FBI made of those three apparently hardcore neo-Nazi activists, someone that smuggled in a machine gun. So is it just possible good policing in this case prevented a more serious incident from happening there?
Yeah, so in this case, yes, it did seem that there were three extremist individuals who were headed southbound toward Virginia and were intercepted a few days ago. And those individuals seem to be part of a hardcore, basically, like you said, a neo-Nazi organization called the Base. Again, though, that is quite different from the actual, most of the people here would be better described as militia activists, Second Amendment activists. And so I do think that the police made an interesting call by separating the people who have guns from the people who don't. I think there were a lot of people, including myself, who were concerned that the effect of that would be now you have a lot more armed people walking around without a specific area, which makes it much more difficult to police. But in the end, that didn't turn out to cause any kind of a conflict, largely due to a lack of any kind of real enemy.
Ford, talk to us a bit more about those gun control measures, because those measures making their ways through the state legislature, as you mentioned, seem to be a lot of the driving force behind this particular protest.
Yeah, so I think that someone once described to me actually about this issue that, they're pushing a lot of different gun control bills with the hope that maybe there'd be compromise and then, a few of them would pass. But I think that their fear is that now these things could actually be pushed. And the first one that actually did make it all the way is that they used to be able to carry firearms inside the Capitol itself, not just on the Capitol grounds, but inside the building. You could go and meet with your state senator with a gun on your hip, and basically they passed a bill preventing that. So there has already been some level of change, but other types of restrictions that have been proposed and now have an actual chance of passing include magazine limits, certain types of weapons being banned. There was one bill that describes that gun ranges that don't mostly serve police officers and are above a certain size would be made illegal. So there are a lot of people who have concerns over those things. At the same time, my understanding also is that some of the proposals have already been struck down. Apparently, there was a new red flag law proposal that has already sort of been canceled. So it seems like so far the only leeway that's actually been had was the ban on firearms inside the Capitol itself. As far as the ban outside of the Capitol, kind of in the area essentially around where I am, that basically concludes after the state of emergency ends, which is tomorrow at 5 p.m. After that, the only area still affected will be inside the Capitol.
Ford Fischer in Richmond, Virginia. Thanks so much for being with us from there. While